I usually tend to focus on reviewing games that are either RPGs or heavily story driven on this channel, so you may be surprised to find this review in your feed. Recently, when browsing the Nintendo Switch Online service, my partner exclaimed, "Natsukashi!" For those of you not Japanese versed, this would be akin to me screaming about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, where the opening movie took me right back to 1997, a pivotal time in my teenage years. Nostalgia is a powerful thing, so I decided to jump in and see what the fuss was about. It's worth noting that Popping Twinbee is not a standalone title, but rather sits in a running series as the 6th entry of the franchise. The Nintendo Switch Online service is the first time that the game has been offered to the American audience. However, PAL Territories had seen this game on the Super Nintendo. Developed by Konami and originally released on the Super Famicom in Japan in early 1993, it saw a PAL release later that year. The game functions as a top-down vertical shoot-'em-up which sees you flying through a variety of stages while shooting at enemies, avoiding their missiles, and just basically trying to survive. I'm typically not one to play these types of games, but I really enjoyed the couple of hours that I put into it. Even more so after I got the hang of the controls and the functions of the ship I was piloting. Poppin' Twinbee doesn't really have an in-depth story, but that wasn't surprising. The basic premise is that you are sent a distress message from a girl named Madoka, who implores you to stop her grandfather, that despite typically being a benevolent and kind old man, has turned into a maniacal evil genius after tripping and hitting his head on a pole. Okay. You don't really get to see any story other than the intro when you let the title screen stay up for too long, and in little vignettes between the stages that show art of the characters. The first stage has you rescuing Madoka's ship from a large machine trying to capture her, and the final stage is, obviously, a battle against her grandfather. Other than that, the other stages have no real relation to the plot at all, but I didn't mind this. Once you're all strapped into your aircraft, you can jet into the sky performing aerial feats of navigation that would put a stunt pilot to shame. Avoiding incoming damage is pertinent to surviving this bullet hell. You're not defenseless, however, with a range of abilities at your disposal. For starters, there is the basic cannon which shoots bullets straight ahead. If the pesky ground enemies are giving you trouble, you may drop bombs on them to disintegrate them. If you're feeling frisky and playing with a friend, you can throw their ship into the enemies for a ton of damage. But when things get way too hairy, you can also deploy a special ability that fires many smaller ships around the screen to take out all the enemies in an explosive display. Or, you could just pummel the enemy with your fist, but this requires you to get in close. These are the basic functions of your ship, and some elements of them can be upgraded. Whilst flying through the beautiful levels, you may see some exuberant clouds that fling bells from their fluffy bosoms when they are shot at. Originally bronze in colour, these bells will net you a higher score when collected. However, if you shoot the bells, juggling them in the air, you may change their colour. Each colour represents a different type of upgrade for your ship. There are two different styles of firepower that your ship's cannons can be upgraded to, either a larger orb of fire, or a three-way shot. I must admit that I was a little disappointed that there was a limitation on the upgrades that you could make to your cannon, compared to other games in the genre. There are other upgrades like a shield, faster speed, or extra smaller ships that orbit your ship and shoot bullets when you fire too. I did like the bell system, as it often made the game more challenging when I was trying to juggle getting a specific coloured bell, whilst also just generally dodging enemy fire, and trying not to die. If the game is a little too difficult, you can control the difficulty from within the options menu on the title screen. There are 7 levels, with 1 being the lowest and 7 the highest. I found I couldn't get far even at the 4th level, so this game is not for the faint of heart. If you die too many times, it is game over and you must start from the very beginning. Luckily, when you die, you do retain all the upgrades you had collected for your ship. To prevent a death, you can bomb enemies on the ground who may sometimes drop hearts that will restore a portion of your health. Also, if you are playing with a friend, you can transfer some of your health to them or vice versa. If your partner isn't particularly good at these types of games, you can set the game to couple mode, where all the enemies will then focus their fire on you. If you're like me, I wouldn't recommend this if you're not particularly good at the game. At the end of each level, you'll be thrust into combat with a boss type enemy. These can be difficult if you don't know what you're doing or haven't encountered them before, as some of them have actions that aren't always predictable, especially when they are throwing a ton of bullets your way. Once you beat them, it's a scramble for as many bells as you can collect. but be careful you don't accidentally change your upgrades. I love the bright colour palette of this game and the variety of the levels. One moment you're soaring over a futuristic cityscape and the next you're under the sea. The monster designs are all varied and cute as well. In one stage you'll be fighting off flying pandas that appear to have been flung from the prize slot of a crane game, where the next pigs are using water spouts to surf up to you to give you a kiss. And I can never forget the creepy invading Kewpie dolls. I also really enjoyed the number of references to Japanese children's toys such as kendama or the teru teru bozu that are typically pitched around the place before a sport festival to ward off the rain. The music is surprisingly very good for a shoot 'em up. The themes are all upbeat and catchy, and some of them I feel would fit well within an RPG if given the chance. I particularly liked the themes Big Airship and Deep Lava Cave. Both tracks have a regal, elated feel to them and really put me in the mood. The sound design retains the Japanese voiceovers that were often cute to hear at the time, and the firing sound isn't annoying, with explosions having a satisfying oomph to them. Poppin' Twimby is a classic Konami game that I would recommend playing with a friend if you have some spare time. The bright, vibrant colour palette married with the electric music makes such a great combination. I recommend playing the game with a friend as it's more fun to make comments on the weird and wacky enemies that you'll be facing along the journey, though I don't recommend couple mode unless you are a good player yourself. So why not pick up your pilot hat, take hold of that throttle in both hands, and blast off into the skies for a short aerial adventure whilst you wait for the next big RPG. By the way, I'm currently making my way through Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is taking quite some time for me to complete. Already I'm at over 45 hours of game time and I'm still not done with it, which is why the video is taking so long to produce. I thought maybe in future, like now, I would look at making smaller videos on other genres of games. Let me know what you think! As always, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to drop a like and subscribe as it helps me out a bunch. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye for now.